Hi, I'm Rod Saunders from Jew and Greek. Well, this is the new look for my channel. What do you think? I've been working on this for a while, and with the help of my friend Marcus, I think we've got this figured out now to where I'll be able to give you a different look for the channel. I've had a lot of people complaining about when you're going to put a background in. You just got a plain background. Well, let me explain to you why I've had nothing but a plain background since this channel began. I was a fan of a man named Stefan Molyneux in the past. Now, if you don't know who Stefan is, he had a big YouTube following for years, where he talked about politics and philosophy, economics and stuff. And while I don't agree with him on everything, I mean, he's an agnostic after all, so I certainly don't agree with him there. But I did agree with a lot of what he said about politics. But the thing that fascinated me about Stefan was what a good communicator he was. And he has since been banned from YouTube. I think that was over the stuff. It might have been over the election. I don't know. I don't know why they banned him, but he's gone. But anyway, I thought he was a great communicator. I'm going to show you a short little clip here of Stefan so you can see what I'm talking about.
If you can't see his competence, and maybe there are people in your life, Donald Trump's an idiot, he's a buffoon, he's a clown. See, if you can't see his competence, there might be a reason for that, and that reason might not be that he's incompetent. Listen, it's nothing to be ashamed of. If you can't see someone's competence because you're not competent, nothing to be ashamed of. Doesn't have to stay that way. You kind of just have to be quiet, observe and learn something. It's actually called the Dunning-Kruger effect, that incompetent people cannot judge competence. So this is just an important thing to remember, and it's a pretty good way of figuring out who's competent and original in the world, just looking at how they react to Donald Trump.
So that's Stefan Molyneux. Now, he just had a plain background, okay? He didn't have any props. He didn't have a studio set, anything. He just stood there and looked at the camera, and he talked to you in a way that you could just sit and listen to him for an hour. And I mean, his videos, a lot of them were over an hour long. But he could hold your attention because he was such a good communicator. And I said, if I ever have a YouTube channel, I want to be able to communicate like Stefan Molyneux. So I intentionally left my background plain to force me to focus on my presentation. I put all the emphasis on the content and the presentation and not on bells and whistles. Well, I think at this point, I got to step it up a notch or two because, people expect a certain look in a YouTube channel that if you don't have that look, people just associate that with, amateurish skill levels or whatever. So I know that I need to make a lot of changes to the channel if I expect it to grow like I want it to grow. Anyway, so I really worked a lot. Now, Stefan everything he said was pretty much extemporaneous. He prepared, he studied, he had outlines and everything. But he was still speaking pretty much extemporaneously, and I haven't done that. I've been reading scripts for the most part, but I'm going to get away from that eventually. I'm going to get weaned off the scripts, I think. I may always use them to a certain extent. I'm not using one right now. But the main style I copied after Stefan Molyneux. And I feel confident enough now in my presentation skills to where I can start to do some other things with the channel besides content and presentation. So I'm working on all of that. What got me started with the scripts and the teleprompter, I don't know if you remember Brian Williams. Brian Williams used to be the anchor at NBC News. And he got bumped down to MSNBC because of a scandal. He was caught just basically lying about stuff. He was just making stuff up about his experiences as a reporter. And he got busted, and he looked like an absolute fool. And so they sent him to MSNBC, where he finished his career about a year or so ago. But that really intrigued me. How in the world could such a knucklehead become the anchor for NBC News? How did he get that job if he was such a goof? I couldn't imagine that. So I started watching videos on Brian Williams. And I watched a couple of interviews and then one speech that he made at some Ivy League school to the journalism class there. And somebody asked him, what's the most important thing? What's the most important skill to have as a news anchor? Now, I expected him to say a lot of things that I'd heard other journalists say when they were asked that question. Maybe read. I remember one time Tom Brokaw was asked that question, and he said, read. Everything you can read about every topic. Learn about economics. Learn about politics. Learn about religion. Learn about science. Learn about sports. Learn about technology. Learn everything you can about every subject, because when a story breaks, you don't want to be uncomfortable talking about that subject. I thought it was great advice, okay? Then there was a guy named Sam Donaldson, who was a White House correspondent, I think, for ABC News. He was asked that question one time, and he said that his secret to success was just work harder than everybody else. He said, I didn't have anything going for me. I didn't have any connections. I didn't have a whole lot of money. Nobody knew me. And so he said, I just worked harder than everybody else. A lot of times at a press conference, as soon as the press conference was over, all the journalists would go to the bar and have a drink and then wait until some story broke in the evening. But he said, I would hang around and find somebody to interview. And a lot of times I got a scoop. I got a little quote that made it into the news. And slowly I began to develop a reputation as somebody who could get quotes and get stories, not big stories, but little stories that would help fill the news content for the day. Well, I thought that was good advice. Read a lot and work real hard. You know what Brian Williams said? He said the most important skill, reading a teleprompter. He said when he was young as a journalist, he noticed that the guys who got the good jobs sitting there and anchoring the news were people who were good at reading a teleprompter. Then he said, I just made my mind up that, he said, I'm not the brightest guy, and I'm not the most educated, I'm not the best connected, but he said, one thing I can do is I can learn how to read a teleprompter as good as anybody in this business. And he got up teleprompter and he practiced hours a day, every day, week after week, month after month. And he read that teleprompter about every topic you can imagine. And complicated, medical words, legal words, technological, whatever. He learned how to read a teleprompter on a myriad of topics, and he got really good at it. And then when the opportunity came up to anchor the news one night, he sat there and he just aced it. And he got everybody's attention. This guy is good on camera. And that's how he eventually worked his way up to the NBC News anchor, because he was really good at reading a teleprompter. He was a knucklehead. He was a liar, but he was real good on camera. So anyway, I just decided, well, that's something I can do. I can learn how to read a teleprompter. And so I bought a tab, it's not an Apple, but it's like an iPad. And I downloaded a teleprompter app, and I started writing out my scripts. And I read them off the teleprompter through my tab. And at first I was real stiff and kind of self-conscious. But eventually I got to the point where I could do it good enough to where people didn't even know I was reading. So I worked real hard at doing it. So I'm just giving you some background here on my channel, how I put all of this together slowly, because honestly, I really felt insecure about doing this because I didn't have a speaking background. I didn't have a video background. And it was just all so new to me. And so I had to take baby steps and use training wheels for a while. Well, the wheels are coming off now, and I feel much more competent and confident. And I think I can take this channel far beyond where I would have thought a few years ago. And that's why I'm going to the conferences and learning how to do new things. So anyway, like I said, this is, just one of many steps that I'm going to be doing. Podcasts, I got things in store for podcasts and interviews. And I'm going to be utilizing OBS, which, if you don't know what OBS is, it's a great way of doing live streaming where you can pull up different documents and open different windows live. So Marcus is helping me out with that. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a chance to see the new look. And let me know what you think. If you think that there's some things I could do better, do differently, or whatever, just leave a comment here and there. And remember, leaving comments and likes and shares, that all helps me with the algorithm. So thanks again for your support, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.